This child assassin was brash, cold, and impossible to like at first. But Damian Wayne wasn't there to be liked. He was there to evolve what it meant to be Robin.
What the hell are you gonna do? You don't have any superpowers.
I got a cell phone. Oh, no bars.
He even went as far as evolving the entire Bat family. For the longest time, I didn't want to admit it, but I just can't run away from the truth anymore. Damian Wayne is the best Robin. He may not be everyone's favorite, but he certainly came into the picture when the Batman franchise needed him the most. In this video, we're going to go over how Damian Wayne revolutionized Batman in DC Comics, and hopefully after watching this video, you'll be even more hyped for James Gunn's Brave and the Bold movie. But before we move on, please be sure to give a like and subscribe to Reverb Comics. You don't want to miss out on our awesome content. Now, I know I've ripped on James Gunn for choosing to feature Damian Wayne in his next Batman film, and for the most part, I stand by what I said. Since it's a live-action project, he'll have to find an extremely young and talented actor to play Damian and hope that'll age gracefully over the next decade. Cause let's face it, sequels to movies come out at most around 2 years after their release. It'll be hard to find an actor who will stay looking as a kid in his teens and early 20s. There's also the fact that Damian's personality really clashes with his dad, and not in a good way. They're both dark, brooding, and rude, which is why Damian needs to get paired up with a lighthearted character like Nightwing. And there's the whole issue of how the world's greatest detective was not aware of the fact that he had a son for more or less a decade. For those of you who don't know, Grant Morrison technically retconned the Batman lore in 2006 so that Talia al Ghul drugged Bruce, got intimate with him, and carried his son without his knowledge. This of course was done to make his life more difficult. Ra's al Ghul always wanted Batman to be his successor, but Bruce always refused since he disagreed with the League's killing policy, and his first priority is always to protect Gotham. Now, I say he technically retconned Batman lore since Batman's first child technically made his or her first appearance in 1987. I actually didn't know this for a while, but technically Damian's first appearance was in the 1987 story arc called Batman the Son of the Demon. After Batman teamed up with Ra's to stop the terrorist Cayenne, Bruce and Talia fall madly in love. They both got married and she became pregnant with his child. However, she lies about having a miscarriage after she realizes that Bruce would give up being Batman to become a father, which was something she thought he would eventually regret. She eventually put the child up for adoption, and I guess DC Comics had no plans to explore this kid's future. So technically Grant Morrison retconned this story arc, maybe? Nobody at DC Comics called this story a non-canon event, but if it isn't, I guess Damian has another biological sibling that he doesn't know about. Talia is really toxic now that I think about it for lying about both of her pregnancies. And not to mention, she's pretty nasty for killing people. But that's besides the point. The point is, Damian is a really brilliant character to introduce into the Batman mythos. Ever since Damian was introduced in 2006, he flipped Batman stories on its head. I mean, think about it. Damian was raised by the League of Assassins. Since birth, he was trained to become a stone-cold killer. This is quite a different introduction than any other Robin. Dick Grayson was a young circus acrobat, Jason Todd was an angry delinquent who stripped the tires off the Batmobile, and Tim Drake was a really bright kid who figured out Batman and Robin's identities. All three of them were taken in and got training from Batman. Damian was the only Robin that didn't need any training whatsoever. For him, it wasn't a struggle to learn how to become a vigilante. Damian's struggle didn't come from learning, but rather unlearning some of the things that the League taught him. When Damian was left with Bruce for the first time, he killed the villain Spook in an effort to gain his father's approval. He also tried to kill the third Robin at the time, Tim Drake, so that he could take his place by force. This of course did not sit well with Batman. After a number of furious outbursts, Batman reprimanded Damian and kept a very close eye on him to stop him from killing other people. Another brilliant aspect of the character is that it forced Bruce to step into the role of a father, which humanized him pretty well. I mean, think about it. When Bruce adopted Dick, Jason, and Tim, there was a bit of an emotional distance between him and his sidekicks since he wasn't related to any one of them. Bruce wasn't a perfect father figure to any of them since Alfred mostly took care of them, and he wasn't great at addressing any of their emotional needs. When Damian entered the picture, he was very hard to ignore. After all, he's one of the few people that's actually biologically related to Bruce, and he's got a lot of violent tendencies. If you think about it, Damian in an odd way really helped Bruce to become a more well-rounded human being. Bruce eventually understood that Damian really wanted to gain the approval of his father. Sure, Bruce was rough around the edges at first, but after Damian showed signs of progress, he stepped in and helped his son get on the right path. Batman even went as far as bringing his son back to life after he was murdered. After Damian got murdered by the villain Heretic, Batman went as far as going to Apocalypse to bring his son back to life. Yeah, you heard that right. He was so driven that he kidnapped Cyborg and forced him to open up a boom tube to Apocalypse. I mean, talk about being compassionate. I heard the old expression that parents will do anything for their kids, but this takes things to a whole new level. And Bruce wasn't the only character that grew thanks to Damian. Tim Drake experienced significant character growth when Damian took his spot as Robin. For context, Batman temporarily died during the Final Crisis event. As a consequence, Dick Grayson took up the Batman mantle and had Damian as his Robin since he needed to keep an eye on him. Like I mentioned earlier, Damian killed the villain Spook and nearly killed Tim Drake, so he needed to learn basic decency and compassion towards others from Dick Grayson. Dick refused to take on Tim as his Robin since he saw him as an equal, and he had to keep a close eye on Damian. This forced Tim to operate independently as Red Robin, which really helped him grow as a character. Tim used this rivalry to assert his own intellect, empathy, and detective skills. His whole experience as Red Robin pushed him towards maturity and self-confidence outside of Bruce's shadow. He even gained the respect of Ra's al Ghul. In that Red Robin series, Ra's called Tim Detective, which is only a title he refers to Batman as. So despite how Tim and Damian's relationship was antagonistic at first, if it wasn't for Damian, Tim would have never experienced such monumental character growth. Damian even helped the Bat family reconsider taking in the Red Hood again. Now personally, I much prefer Jason Todd as an antagonist to Batman. I find he works much better as a character that represents Batman's greatest failures as well as what he could be if he crossed that line and killed criminals. Despite how it was kinda awkward bringing him back into the Bat family, Damian played a key role for Jason's path to redemption. After all, the Bat family let Damian be Robin after he killed the villain Spook. It would be pretty hypocritical for Batman to let Damian get his redemption journey and not let Jason have that same opportunity. And then there was his relationship with Dick Grayson, which was just so perfect in so many ways. As we all know in Grant Morrison's Batman and Robin series, the traditional dynamic between the two characters was flipped on its head. Dick Grayson as Batman was lighthearted and optimistic, and Damian Wayne as Robin was much like his cold, brooding, and calculating dad. This series was really fresh, new, and was exactly what Batman comics needed to be to stay exciting. To me, it was a really fantastic read as Dick Grayson and Damian Wayne experienced monumental character growth. Dick Grayson has always been regarded as one of the best leaders in all of DC Comics and an all-around decent guy to be around. Whether he's leading the Teen Titans or flying solo as Nightwing and Bloodhaven, he's always depicted as an all-around really kind, compassionate, and chill dude. When Damian entered the picture, his patience was tested to the limit to say the least. When Dick had to take up the Batman mantle, Damian challenged him constantly. In doing so, Dick had to rise above his own doubts and insecurities. This was a major step in his personal evolution as a hero. As we all know, Dick hated going back to Gotham and taking on the Bat mantle.
I've struggled for years to get out of Bruce's shadow, to build a life for myself as far away from his world as possible, and the last thing I want is to be wearing this damn thing.
As a 20-something, he really enjoyed his own independence as Nightwing and Bloodhaven. Of course, he had no choice but to be Batman because Bruce died at the time from Darkseid's Omega Beams, and Gotham fell into chaos without the Batman symbol there to protect her. Even though he hated it, he was the only person who could be Batman at the time. But despite his reluctance, he experienced really unique character growth with Damian. When he was working with Damian, the kid started out as an arrogant, violent, and emotionally closed-off individual. But instead of rejecting him, he saw the broken kid underneath and believed in his ability to change. This dynamic deepened Dick's compassion and emotional insight, it reinforced his belief in redemption and second chances, and it helped him develop a more nuanced view of morality. By mentoring someone as difficult as Damian, Dick grew into someone more capable of understanding and leading complex individuals. He wasn't just an older brother to Damian. He was pretty much a father figure to the kid. Damian grew up without his dad while he was being trained by the League of Assassins. And once he found his father figure, he got killed by Darkseid. Dick was always good at being an older brother to Tim, but Damian definitely needed a healthy father figure in his life. And Dick did a pretty good job of doing that. Taking on the Batman mantle and guiding Damian required Dick to be a more responsible and authoritative person, learn patience and emotional intelligence, and develop a more mature sense of leadership. Despite their initial friction, Dick softened Damian's rough edges and made Damian more human. Their relationship was really unique if you think about it. It was half brotherly and half father and sonish. When Damian stepped out of line, Dick reprimanded him much like a father would, but he was still deeply rooted in empathy, humor, and optimism, much like an older brother. In doing so, Dick kinda challenged what it meant to be Batman. Dick proved that Batman didn't have to be dark, cold, and brooding all the time. He proved that Batman doesn't just have to be a ridiculously capable human being at the end of the day. He proved that Batman can lead with emotional intelligence and help people grow into more well-rounded human beings. And don't even get me started on how Dick shaped Damian as a person. His upbringing with Ra's and Talia al Ghul did not teach him the value of compassion, patience, or trust. Dick was pretty much the first person to consistently treat Damian with patience and genuine care. He didn't treat him as a soldier or a mission tool. He just tried his best to give the angsty kid what he needed. When they weren't on missions, Dick provided Damian with a stable, nurturing environment, something Damian really never had before. Dick gave Damian a chance to prove himself as Robin when most people were pretty afraid of the kid. He gave him responsibility and partnership, showing that he was more than just a liability or a burden. He helped him find his own identity. Damian often struggled with his dual heritage. After all, he's the son of Batman and the grandson of Ra's al Ghul, the leader of the League of Assassins. Dick helped Damian see that he didn't just have to be a reflection of Bruce or Ra's al Ghul. He helped him see that he can forge his own path. Dick's emotionally open and hopeful attitude made it easier for Damian to learn about empathy, justice, and optimism. Dick's actions taught Damian that being a hero isn't just about winning fights. It's about helping people and protecting life. What I love most about Dick and Damian's dynamic was that Dick taught Damian how to look at things through the lens of love. With Dick, Damian unlearned the League's teaching of trying to gain as much power, domination, and control as possible. Dick helped him realize that it's much more fulfilling doing what you love with the people that you love. Come to think of it, this is probably what helped him realize that he's passionate about animal rights. By the way, I just love that Damian loves animals. That small nuance about him really differentiates him from all of the other DC characters out there. Anyways, the point is, Dick's bond with Damian gave him someone to look up to. It gave him someone he can argue with, trust, and lean on. Dick never gave up on Damian, even when he was at his most difficult. He showed him what love, trust, and family really mean, and that made all the difference with Damian. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Even though Damian may not be your favorite Robin, you can't deny that Damian was what Batman comics needed at the time. He challenged what it meant to be Robin. He helped the Bat family open up to the idea of helping Jason Todd on his redemption journey. He was the catalyst for Tim Drake's evolution into Red Robin, and he helped Bruce and Dick evolve into more well-rounded humans and heroes. And not to mention, he had unique character development of his own. I've never seen a child assassin evolve into a decent human being before, and I probably never will again. At the end of the day, you just can't deny that he kept things fresh and interesting. In terms of what I want to see next for the character, I think it'd be cool if he got paired up with Green Arrow or Nightwing again. I didn't know this for the longest time, but it turns out that Damian is a master archer, so Green Arrow could probably learn a thing or two from him. I like how we got to improve his leadership skills with the Teen Titans. His lack of social skills definitely made the series a fun read. But what do you think? Do you think Damian Wayne is the Robin Batman comics needed? What do you think should be done with the character moving forward? Let me know what you think in the comments section below. As always, thanks a million for watching. Please be sure to give a like and subscribe to Reverb Comics so that you don't miss out on our awesome content. Stay groovy.